Welcome back to another White Ninjas tutorial. Now, we have previously talked about putting buttons into pages, linking them to another page, and actually activating that code. We have also discussed how to put background images and audio effects into your app and then reference to those so they will be effective. Now, what we can see here on this screen as you come back in is we can actually come over here to our layout and let me load it up. It's all gone. Now, why is that? Well, the reason I was sitting here thinking over the weekend, over a couple of days, and it's nice to throw everything together and just make a weird compiled app that really has no value to it. So what I did was I scratched that app completely, and this app will be live on the market. It's going to be on the market very soon, probably today. The purpose of this video is to go from start to finish building this app. Now, by now you should already know how to open up Android Studio and have fun with it. So the only thing I did was I created my simple splash screen, which we're going to use this to create our, we're going to be able to create a splash screen. So whenever people turn the screen on for the first time, it will have that professional splash screen effect into it. What I've also did is in my Drawable folder right here, I went ahead and added some of the background images and other icons that I'm going to be using inside of this app. This is just to get us started. Now, one other thing I've done was I went ahead and created my raw file and inputted some sound effects. I will display the links in the video below in the description on where you can get these specific ones done. And except for the White Ninja background and the logo, those ones are actually custom made by our artists. So yeah, you can go to our website and just click on the image, I believe, and download it that way. Good. Now, for those of you that does not know how to create your raw file, come over here to your res, right click, new directory, type in raw, and well, mine already exists, so I'm just going to cancel that. Then you hit enter, and then you can import your sound effects into your own raw file. Now, let's go ahead and get started on this one. The first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to, first of all, delete that, and then we're going to, I'll tell you what, let's do this one first. Let's go ahead and set our background image for our splash screen. Now, I have two different background images that I'm going to be using for this app. The first one is specifically just for this one, and I loved it so much I might actually end up using it further on inside the development of this page, this app, so we don't have the same background for every single page. But in order to get it started, we're just going to simply plug in our Android background element. We're going to link that to our Drawable file, and we will be going to do let's do bckg_pip boy. For those of my Fallout friends out there, have fun with it. Voila! There's our wonderful, beautiful little background. Although, we do need some content on here. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create me a text view. We'll wrap this content. And I'm going to give this one Android ID, reference to the ID. We're going to call this one CB, created by. Okay, so we'll do created by. Why is that one not working out? Ah, I know why. Forgot my plus symbol. So now we can do CB. Oh. If I can type, I can get this going. So now we have that. Now, one thing that you may have, if you've already watched some of my previous videos, one thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our values. I'm going to open up my colors XML page. I'm going to come down here and we're going to do, I'm going to put a note in here, and you can do exclamation dash dash and then write your note. So this one I'm going to call it text colors dash dash, close that off. Color name equals text, let's say green, GRN. And we'll give this one, what kind of green do we want to go with? Let's just go with the basic hex code green. Alright, now I'm also come over here to my strings folder, and I'm going to come over here and do, again, I'm going to create a new node, and this is going to be splash screen strings. Yeah, say that 10 times fast. String name equals CB, created by. Alright, so now we have that. Now let's come down here. Let's go ahead and add our text to the text view. We're going to start off by doing Android text. Let's go ahead and put our text there. And we're going to do string CB. Android text color. We will reference our color that we have just created, text green. And then text size. We're going to put this one here, since this is our splash screen. We don't really have much to do. All that splash screen is for is say, this app was created by so-and-so or so-and-so company. A logo, if you chose to, or just a self picture. So if you're building an app for yourself, you can take a quick little selfie, go ahead and get that going, and put that on your splash screen. You can do a lot of different things with a splash screen. You can create your loading icon and stuff like that. Have fun with all that. But for right now, we're just doing the simple text. We're going to put this one here at 35 dp. And naturally, Android text alignment equals center. So, now what the text alignment does, when we do text alignment center, whatever field box that it's in, like if you're putting this in a table row, it will align it perfectly in the center. So if you have a table row and you got let's say item name, and then you got a picture of the item below it, and then you got description below that picture. Well, if that picture is bigger than what the text is, then in the table row box and below, we'll align that to be aligned perfectly center, so everything looks congruent in order. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the center. And lastly, we're going to do align Android layout center horizontal, which means we're going to lay this out centrally in the horizontal position, evenly, dead in the center. Me, I'm just a weird nuisance like that. I always put everything directly in the center. Why? I don't know. I'm just a goofball like that, I guess. Now, I'm also going to reference another text view in which that this is going to be labeled as a spacer. So I'm just going to put this one here as 10 dp for the height. Now I'm going to do Android ID at plus ID equals spacer. Android. We're going to put this one below our CB. And this one, I'm not really particularly care if I put this one in the center or not. For the simple fact that it's just a spacer, it will never actually show up on the screen. So now that we have that, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put our first image in. So we're just going to do image view. We can either wrap the content or match the parent. Now what wrap the content means is it will take the image view attributes, the top, the bottom, the left, and the right, and it will just wrap around whatever image we decide to tell it to. So if you got a really, really big image, it's going to be a really, really big image. It might even be off the screen. What match parent does is it'll go from top to bottom and left to right of the entire screen, which means it'll fill that entire proportion up if you chose to do layout width and height as match parent. In some cases, this is great, utilizing mostly for background images or web views. We'll get into that in here in a little bit. So what we can do now is we can set the actual attribute of how high and how wide we want our image to be. In this case, let's just go ahead and throw 75 in there, 75 dp, 75 dp. Now naturally we've got to put this as an Android ID, and we'll do this one here as a logo, because I have a logo that we have from White Ninjas. And then we're going to put this one below our ID of spacer, so that this is going to line perfectly underneath that spacer, which is aligned underneath our CB text view. And then one more thing we're going to do here is we're going to, put this directly in the center. And then Android source. Now we're going to reference our source of the image. That we have put this image inside the Drawable folder, and we are going to reference to our logo. Now naturally, as you can see on that screen right there, this is just a little bit too small for me. So I'm going to make this one bigger, so I'm going to go up to 150 over 150, see what that looks like. Now that looks a lot better. I can manage to do with that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just go ahead and create one more image view. And this one, I do want it to wrap the content. I'm going to set this one as an ID. And I'm just going to call this one banner. So we're going to go ahead and put this one below our logo image. And of course we're going to put this one directly in the center as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reference which banner I want to put in this image view class. In this case, my banner is also in my drawable. Android source equals at drawable. And then we have the white ninja banner. Just like that. And that's how we can create the visual aspect of Android Studio. Now, of course, you can also come over here to your design components, stretch this out a little bit, and you can put in, a text right here, and you double click on it, and you can say this text. You click enter. You can naturally do it that way. However, coming from a true programmer's point of view, it's not really that awesome if you say, yes, I can build it, but you don't actually really put much code into it. Nonetheless, even if you do the visual design way, you still have to go into the Java files and still create the right components that you need to make it all work. And with that being said, we are going to now go ahead and we have our splash screen the way we like it. So now let's go back here into our Java, the splash screen Java element, and we are going to go right on ahead and reference this. Yes, I am looking at my old code from my other one just so I do not make a mistake. I've already done this one 3 times and I've made a mistake, so I'm just going to go ahead and reference to what I've already done on my White Ninja's Android app. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and start off with a thread timer. We're just going to do it thread, and then it's going to be timer thread equals new thread. Now, basically what we're doing right here is we are contacting a thread. It's going to be like a string, if you would. And we named this string to timer thread, and we're going to create a new thread. So now we're going to try to basically call an action. We're going to basically call an action in this element right here. Now, in this specific field, what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 different things. One is we're going to reference a audio sound effect, and number 2, we are also going to be putting a timer in there. And the best way we can do this by creating the audio effect is we're going to do media player. We're going to call this one as CNTDWN equals media player dot create get application context r raw. Basically what we're doing now is, okay, we're creating our media player and we're going to grab the application context, meaning that the audio effect is inside of the Android app, and we're going to reference that to our main repository. We're going to find our raw value folder, and we're going to reference our SND CNTDWN. I will get that right eventually. Now right here we can sit here and clearly see Android Media Player, Alt Enter. So let's go ahead and press Alt Enter, and that just adds that up here into our import file for us. Now we're just going to reference our countdown deal, and we're just going to do start, just like that. Now, once we have our media player in action, now we need to sleep for, you set a millisecond. So this countdown timer actually counts down from 5, and it goes down to 1, then it says go. So we need to reference it about 6, at least a good 6, maybe 7 seconds. So in order to do that, we're just going to do 7500. We don't need that there. So now we have that. Now, in the event that this doesn't work, we're going to also catch Interruptedexception, and we're going to open this one up. Now within this one, we are going to catch an interruptedexception, meaning if something was to happen during this thing, then we need to figure out what's going on, and we're going to essentially print in just this specific element. We're just going to print a trace. So in order to do that, we're going to do E print stack trace, just like that, and we're good to go. And now finally, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to type in finally, open this one up, and then we are going to actually perform our intent. What is the intent once that countdown reaches 0? So we're just going to intent, just go ahead and call it new intent, and we're going to do splash screen. Basically what we're doing now is that, this Basically what this means is that we are going to reference this intent to go from this splash screen, this image, the page that we are on right now, and we're going to call it to another activity. In which case I'm going to create, here in a second, a new activity. I'm just going to call it main activity.class. Once we have that, then we just do start activity intent. Now let's, boom, Alt Enter and put that in there, and we've got to close this off. Now, once we have that done, one of the things that I have learned the very hard way is we also have to figure out how to start this timer. Because if you can create it, that is fine. But what you forget to do is you've got to actually start it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to reference our timer thread.start. And that's it. Now we do have this one right here that's just red. The reason why this is red and not white is because we don't actually have an activity named main activity just yet. If I was to do this to splash screen, well, congratulations. What this would do, if we was to leave this just like it is right now, and you know what, I forgot one thing. Good thing I looked at my code right quick. I forgot to put my E in there, and basically just call this value to this one. So we're just going to do an interruptedexception, call it E, and then once we reference our E, we can print the stack trace. Now, if I was to go ahead and save this and run it, I would literally be stuck in a loop of nothing but just my splash screen. I think that would be kind of awesome to do. I may actually come back and reference to this later on after I build this and upload it to the store just to see what this would look like. I might actually end up doing that and see how long I could keep this loop going on for. But nonetheless, I am going to do main activity.class. Now, once we have that, everything looks good. We're all right. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to come over here to our main White Ninjas, in my case, whiteninjas.com Android Studio Learning course. I'm going to right-click, New. I'm going to come all the way down here to Activity. Now, I could do just a basic activity, but that basic activity will come up with that little bitty plus sign at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You know, you do your email activity here. I could do a full screen activity, which would be just a blank page of paper, just like my empty activity is, but it does have a couple of features into it. And all of these features, all of these different types of screens, has some sort of an attribute already pre-installed into it. I don't want nothing. Everything I do is going to be straight empty activity. Now, you remember how I referenced right here earlier, we have our main activity. Well, I'm going to keep this one right here because this is going to be my main page, my landing page, home page. Coffee. Alright, so now we come back over here. Main activity is disabled. We're good on that one. So, now on this page right here, what we're going to do is essentially go ahead and put in a background image, and we're going to go ahead and create a couple of buttons to go to other pages. So, in order to do this one properly, let's go ahead and set that new background onto this one. So we're going to background equals at Drawable, and we're going to reference it to that background blue DNA image that I have right there. And we're just going to put it in right there. And there's that image. So, now we have that. I am naturally going to, put my image view in there. And this one I'm going to wrap my content. I'm going to give this one an ID. And this one I'm going to reference as banner, because this is where my White Ninjas banner is going to be. I'm going to put this one directly in the center of the screen. And now I'm just going to reference my drawable file, and I'm going to pull my White Ninja banner. And I have my banner. It looks so pretty on that background. So, now what we have done is we created a splash screen that automatically starts a countdown timer and plays a music in the background while it's doing that. A lot of people just use a blank, a blank splash screen. And sometimes they might get a little flashy with it and create a loading bar or the rotating icon or something like that. And that's really fine and handy if you can do something like that, or if you want to do something like that. Not can, but if you want to. But you can also input a background audio effect if you don't put the loading icon or whatever you want to put in there. And the reason you'd want to reference some sort of an audio file in your splash screen is whenever people load it up, they want to know that it's doing something. because if they sit there and look at it, well, they're going to think, well, what is it doing? Is it stealing my data? Is it doing this? Is it doing this? What is this app doing? Why is it sitting here for 7 seconds? I should be in my app already. Just go ahead and give them a little audio file to listen to, and they'll be okay. So, now, normally in my past ones, what I've done is when we've created a button, I'm going to go ahead and, first of all, I'm going to create my text view wrap. I'm going to give this one here a 30 dp. And basically what this is going to be is a spacer between my banner, and I'm going to have a little space down here so I can have my menu, if you would. Android ID @+ID spacer 1. And we're going to put this one below our banner ID. So now you see me do in the past just create a simple button, and we've added a background image to it, we've added text to it, we've done this. So what we're going to do this time is essentially we are going to be able to put a button inside of a table element on this specific screen. And in order to do that, we're just going to create our table layout. And we're going to wrap this whole entire concept, we're going to wrap it around. And we're going to give this one an ID. So we're going to do ID menu table. And we're going to put this one below our spacer 1, and naturally we're going to put this one directly in the center. And one of the reasons I like putting everything in the center is because if you have it off to the left or off to the right, that's kind of in left field. Nobody really pays attention to your elements that's in left field. So if you want to have something that's, hey, check it out, but if you can't look at it, that's fine. Go ahead and put it off to the left or to the right, or go have fun with your app. Explore what happens if you put it on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side. Just go have fun with it. That's what programming is about. It's about being able to learn from your mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes, and essentially have fun. So now we have our table layout. Let's go ahead and create a table row. One of the things I realized really fast is that you can put an element, you can put a button inside here, create it to where it's 35 over 45, put a text in there. But whenever you don't put that table row in there, or you put that button inside a table layout without being inside of a table row, it gets a little messed up actually. It's like really messed up. It goes like across the entire screen. So what we're going to do inside this specific table row is we're going to create our button. This one's going to be Android ID @+ID, and we will do downloads. So that way you could download some of the images and stuff like that that's inside this app. You'll be able to download those directly to your phone whenever you download it. Hopefully you do. And then this one, we're just going to do our layout height. We're just going to wrap the content, and we're going to do the same thing for the width, because essentially this is going to hold text. We're not going to reference an image to this one just yet. Actually, we probably won't at all. And then we're going to do Android. First of all, let's come back over here to our strings. I'm going to come down here a couple of spaces. I'm going to create a new note in here. Now, one thing that you want to do about notes quite often, especially if you're new to programming, you want to create notes whenever you're talking about strings and colors. And that way, if you have to go back days or weeks or even months later to do an update or a patch, you can go back in here and say, okay, well, this right here, as I can see, this is my strings that I use for my splash screen. And this right here is going to be for my, we'll call this one main screen strings. So now if I have to come back in here hours from now, weeks, days, months, years, I can come back in here to this folder and say, okay, well, there's my main strings there's my main string text. So I'm going to just go ahead and reference in that one. So we're going to do string name equals DL. Alright, so we're going to do download. And over here in my colors, I'm going to do something a little odd. I'm going to come over here, do name TXT blue. And we'll just give this one a regular blue color. So now we have this. Now we come back over here to, let's go ahead and close out of our splash screen activities. Come back over here. We're going to just go ahead and put our text field in there. So we're just going to go ahead and do text color. We're going to reference that our color folder. And we're just going to go ahead and put that new text blue color, that code that we put in there. We're going to also reference our alignment to be in the center. And then we're going to do our text size at, we'll do this one here at 20 dp. Now, when you're creating a main menu, if you're doing something very simple like this, you got a banner and then just a menu, you can have your text a little bit bigger for your main menu buttons. If you're going to be adding more content in there, like you're going to put some pictures and some logos and you get flashy with it, you want to make your text just a little bit smaller, but not too small where people have to squint at their phone in order to read what those buttons are. So, in this case, we're also going to reference our Android text to be the DL. And now we have our download button. But I want to take this one step further with you guys today. We are going to create our own button using XML. And I had created this a few different times. I've worked on it for the whole weekend, trying to figure out the perfect way to create a button using the XML drawing theme. And I will be referencing over here to my other project that I have, and I will copy and paste only one thing, and that's only because I really don't feel like doing my http/schemas tools and all that crap. I really don't feel like doing that, so I'm just going to copy and paste that one specific line of code. Now, in order to create your own XML drawable file, you're going to come over here to your drawable folder. You can create new drawable resource, and this one we can give it a nice little name. We'll just do MN BTN, or we'll just do it this way. We'll reverse that, BTN MNU. There you go. That way we know that it's going to be a button for the menu class. So this is what I was talking about right here. I don't really want to copy all of that over here, but also, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to change this one to shape. Now what's really nice is when you edit this specific deal up here, it also edits it right here. So if we want to change this one, it changes it down here as well. And now we need to add one thing onto this one, and that's going to be Android shape. We essentially have to give this a shape. Now we could do oval, we could do rectangle, we could do square, we could do whatever we want to do. In my case, I'm just going to go ahead and just do a basic rectangle shape. So we're just going to call rectangle. Now with that being said, we are going to set our corners for this button. So basically what we're going to do now is we're just going to be able to create an Android radius, and we want to set that to a value. Now if we set Android radius to, let's start off with 14 dp. Alright, so now that we have that, let's just go ahead and close that off. Now one thing you can do, if you notice right here, let's go back. You can close this off if you push the / key, or you could just do just a regular close deal, and it provides it over there. However, if you want to just go ahead and close it off with the / key, boom, it's cut, it's done. You don't have to worry about that extra 7 elements to be put in there. Saves a little bit of space, not much, but over time, if you're doing a bunch of these different things, it does save space. Now, one thing we can do, and I'm going to go ahead, I was thinking about, should I do a gradient fill, or should I just go ahead and do an all-out, just a single color view? And I thought I'd just go ahead and give you guys a gradient view. And the reason for that is because I didn't want you guys to have to look, okay, well, where can I find a solid colored background instead of doing a gradient? And we'll talk about that here in just one second. So we're just going to do a gradient, and we're just going to call this one Android angle. Basically what we're going to do now is we're going to set the angle of this gradient view. So is it going to be at a 45, is it going to be an 80, or what is it going to be? A 90 actually. Now bear in mind, whenever you want to change the angle, it only goes in increments of 45. So you can go 0, 45, 90. That's pretty much all that you would need, because other than that, it's just going to be basically just reversed. So if you want to do it reversed, just do like if we're going to sit here at a 45 dp, and you'll see this here in just a second. If you want to sit here and set this at a 45, don't need the dp. If you want to set it at a 45 degree angle, basically it's just going to kind of go at an angle like that. And you can do a 90, which will basically be the opposite, or you can do a 0, which will be up and down. And you go ahead and go play with it once you get this part set up and going. Now we want to do a center X. Basically, what is the center color going to be? What's the percentage of it's going to be? Is it going to be, directly in the center? We could do it at 50%. We could have set this down to 35. And this one, basically, where is the center of our color going to land at? Is it going to be 35% inwards? Is it going to be 50% in? How is this going to look? And we'll play with that here in just one second. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do our Android center color. Now what this is going to essentially do is we're going to create our, we can do this one or two different ways. Either go ahead and put our hex color codes in here manually, or reference them into our color scheme. I'm just going to go ahead and put them in here manually for the time being. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a center color. Now if I come back over here, I see that my text itself is blue. So I really don't want to use anything blue related inside my app, inside my color scheme. So I want to do something more along the lines of either black to red, or we could do a black to green type thing. But in my center, I want that to be my brightest, whichever color I want to do. So if I'm going to do a black, I'm not going to have a black center. So let's go ahead and let's do the green. I like green. One thing I'm also going to do, because I do have that image back there, I'd like to see that image. So I'm just going to go ahead and reference this specific one. I said green. I'm going to reference this specific colors of this button to be a transparent background. And I told you about transparency. You can do CC9988, stuff like that before the actual hex code itself, and that creates the transparency object. And now we're going to do our Android start color. Basically, what is it going to start with? And again, we're going to do 99. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do the start color is going to be black. So we'll just do 3 zeros, or maybe all of them. Alright, and then we have our Android end color. This is going to be, what is it going to be like at the end of it? Now our center color is green, so let's go ahead and do green, and we'll have it that way. And the very last thing we need to do for this specific gradient deal is we're just going to do Android linear, L-I-N-E-A-R. Oh, I'm sorry, Android type equals linear. And we're going to close that off. And now we can see it this way. Now, we'll get to this here in just 1 second here. Now, one thing we can also do is we're going to set the size of this one. And you can reference different sizes, or you can just leave it like it is and then reference those later on whenever you go to build your main buttons. And if you want a default size, you can just do that by simply doing, size. And then you do Android height, and then you can do Android width, if that's something that you want to do. So let's just go ahead and do Android height. We'll do this one at 45, Android width at 150 dp. And that would be that. And so we'll have our simple little button that we can see right here. Now, I do have my center X to be at 35%, but let's say if we want to do this one here at 50. So you see how it kind of goes up just a little bit more. Now, another thing that we can do is we can take this angle from 45 to 0 and see how it kind of slightly changes the way it is a little bit. If I was to take this to 90, it would kind of bring it more along the lines of up and down. Or we can just sit here and do 45. Put it at a 45-degree angle. So you can have all those different colors. Now, if you wanted to have the same color button, the same code all the way around, all you would want to do is take these 2 middle numbers and push those to green. So it is green all the way around. Now, if you wanted to do something really nice and really fancy, we're going to do a 3 deal. We're going to do red, blue, black, and green. Let's do red, green, and blue. We'll do it that way. So we'll do our center color is going to be, let's start with our start color. We'll start with our start color first. The start color is going to be red. Our center color will be green. And then our end color will be blue. So if you look at it, we have a rainbow-like color. It starts off with a red, kind of a burnt orange type thing. And the reason why that is because I do have the transparency setting right here. And if I was to take that off, it becomes a very bright red. But I want my transparency on that. I'm going to change mine back to the way I had it. So you can definitely be able to set all this to one color or a tri-level colors, or you can set different values. So in that case, I'm going to sit here and do 0 FF00. And my start color is going to be 00 FF00, and I'll put my end color at straight black. So it looks like that. You know what? I'm going to reverse my start and end colors. To be something. Whoops, wrong one. There. So now I have my background. Now, what we can also do is we're going to throw in a stroke in here. And basically what we're going to do here is we're going to be able to create a border around our button. This doesn't really have to be unnecessary, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys anyway, because once I figured it out, I thought it was just really cool. So we're just going to sit here and do our Android width. I have mine set to 3dp. And then our Android color, and we can pick a color. So I'm just going to sit here and do 99. See, I've got green, I've worked with blue, I've got a black in the middle. Let's go ahead and go with the red color. So now as you can sit here and see, I've got a red border with a green and black transparent background. That kind of does look a little odd, but let's see what happens whenever we plug that into this button right here. So now in order to reference that button that we just created, we're going to do our Android background, and we're going to reference our drawable folder, and then we're going to do that BTN menu. So now as you can sit here and see, let's get over here. So now we have, which actually does not look that bad, we've got a little bit of a black tint right here, and we're going into a green with a red background, blue text. Does not look that bad. However, I want that black to be just a little bit more. So I'm going to come back into here, and I will make my end color black. Wrong one, actually. Start color. Nope, my center color, that's right. So now if I come back over here, I can sit here and see that it kind of has that black tint to it, and it's going over to the green, which is actually a decent value. Turns out I really don't like that one at all. So I'm just going to go back to the green color that I have. I'm going to close out of that, and now I have a custom drawable image. And you can set your own different values the way I just showed you how to do that. Go ahead and set your own custom values that you would like inside of there. Now, so we're going to have our download button, so you can download the different sound effects, you can download our background images and stuff like that, and I will put a link in the description where you can get these at. Alright, so now what we have now is, what are we going to do? We're going to have a download button. Okay, social media. Everybody in the brother has a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a LinkedIn account, or whatever account that you might possibly have. In this case, I actually do happen to have a couple of those things that we can definitely be referencing into this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to come over here, and I'm going to had to make sure I had my Facebook icons in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here because I may end up adding more buttons into here later. So I'm going to come down here and do a spacer down here, wrap, and we're going to put this one here at 25. Android ID. Spacer 2. Android below ID. We've got menu table. And then we'll create one more table. A table layout. Wrap. Android ID. I cannot type today. Alright, so this one's going to be my social media table. And this one will be aligned below our ID of spacer 2. And I'm going to put this one actually in the center. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to create my table row, and I'm going to put my Facebook icon in here. So I'm going to do that by creating a button, Android ID equals Facebook, Android height. Now this is, if you're dealing with the icons, depending on how much room you have on your main screen, you can make them really big or you can make them really small. I always try to use 75 as a default height and width for my social media buttons. It's not too big, but it's not too small, and it still gets the user's attention. Worst case scenario, you can do a scroll view element if you do have too much content, but you still like the sizes. Just do a scroll view element. We'll get to that on our next page. Now what I want to do is I want to just basically reference my background drawable, and I do have my Facebook icon sitting right here, so we're going to reference that right there. And as you can see, I've got my Facebook icon. Now, that would be all that we need for this specific button. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create one text view inside of here, and I'm not going to do much with it. I'm just going to give it a width. I'm going to give it a width of 15. And the reason why that is so that way, whenever I have my Facebook button right here, and I've got my Twitter button right here, they're not bumped up to each other. You don't really want to have your images bumped up right next to each other. If you can avoid it, go for a text view element. That's the very easiest way to do this. And now I'm creating one more button. And this one is going to be for my Twitter. So we're going to call this one Twitter. And then I'm going to Android layout height as 75 and my width as 75 as well. And then my background is going to be for my Drawable, and I'm going to do TWT. And there's my Twitter icon. Alright, I do have one more I just now realized, so I'm just going to go ahead and do my width and then my button. Android ID YouTube. Android height equals 75 and my width equals 75. And then my background is going to be Drawable, and I'm going to reference my YouTube element. So now we have our Facebook, we have our Twitter, and we have our YouTube and our download button. Now, in order to make all this work, we are not quite done with these buttons yet. We do have one more element we're going to put inside of these fields right here. We'll get to that here in just one second. Let's go right on ahead and come over here to our main activity Java file. We're going to go ahead and start off with creating our social media, our email, our internet-based buttons. And this is actually turned out to be really easy to do. All we have to do is just do a public void go to, and then this is basically referencing what we want it to go to. Basically the name, like how we have our intent in our media player MP, you basically creating this to be the same one. In this case I have FB, stands for Facebook. We're going to view, open this one up, go to FB equals, no, I'm sorry, I got this one all wrong. Go to URL. And this one is where we're going to be able to put where our URL file is. So in this case, if you have Facebook, it'd be your Facebook name. I'm going to copy my Facebook URL and put it right there. I'll put that in there. And I'm going to do the same thing for my Twitter account. So now I come over here, I got public void go to TW. Sounds good to me. View, go to URL, and I've put my Twitter account in there. Now my personal or my company's YouTube video, I have no idea what that one is. I did not put that in the other app, so give me 1 second. I'm pulling up my YouTube account right now. As soon as my internet loads. Let's see my channel. Looks good to me. So now what I'm going to do, come over here, I'm going to do a public void go to YT. View. We'll open this one up and go to URL equals this right there. Now I just realized I do have an error with my code right there, but that is fixed. Now basically what these ones right here is what we're going to be able to use to reference in our actual buttons right here when I told you we're going to put a click button on here. But first let's make sure that we have somewhere to go. And in order to do that, we're going to do a private void go to URL. And in this case we're going to string our URL, open this up. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, and I had to spend some time on it. So we're just going to do URI equals, let's see, make this one, okay, whatever. Actually URI URL equals URI.parse URL. Now what we basically have done is just created a basically the URI essentially of that. Make sure everything's still okay over here. Yep, we're still good. Make sure my recording software is still going. Excuse me. And we're going to call our intent launch browser. Basically what we're doing here is we're going to be able to contact a URI, essentially the URL, of the specific path that we have set above here. So basically what we've done is we're just going to reference this right here, and we're going to throw that into our intent. Our intent in this case is going to be our launch browser. Now sometimes, depending on the phone model and stuff like that, when you click on Twitter or Facebook, instead of it launching the browser, the app will detect that you have the Android phone will detect that you actually have the app already installed, and it will say, do you want to launch this in the Facebook app, or do you want to launch this on the whatever your default mail client is, email client, web client, whether it be whatever is in there, or Chrome, or Firefox, whatever you have. So we're going to do a new intent, and this one is where it's not going to be intent.context like we've done before, and then just create the new page. We're going to actually reference the intent.actionView, and this one's going to go to URI URL and close that off. Once we have that, now we can just do start activity launch browser and close that off. So now we have all of this done. The best way we can go ahead, let's go ahead and add our let's go ahead and add a media button into this, so when they click on it, it will be able to play an audio effect as well. And we're just going to go ahead and create our media player. We'll do btn snd. Sounds good to me. Media player.create get application context. Now we're going to reference our raw file one more time, and we're going to do the snd button. So we're going to do btnsd.start, and there we go. So now, basically what we had done is we're creating public voids to be able to link to a specific button. Whenever we reference our button to this element right here, we are going to say, once this is clicked, we're going to go to a specific URL, and in this specific case, we're going to a Facebook page. Same thing for Twitter and YouTube. Now, what we can also do is we've also created a private void, meaning what's going to happen on the back end. We're creating a URI and converting it to the URL, and we're going to parse this data through the URL. Once we have parsed everything, we're going to throw an intent, and we're going to actually launch our browser, launch the default browser, and we're going to create a new intent to view. It is very important that this is capital letters. Android is very sticky about that. And then we're just going to throw the URI URL, which we set up here, which is also referencing to this right here. And then naturally we just created our media player to create a button whenever these are clicked. So now we can come back in here to our main page, and underneath the button, in this case we have our Facebook button. We're going to do Android on click equals go to Facebook. So whenever this button is clicked, we're going to go to Facebook, which we've referenced the activity in the Java file. So we'll do the same thing over here. On click equals go to Twitter. And last thing, we have Android on click equals go to YouTube. So now when this button's clicked, we're going to go to Facebook. When this button's clicked, we're going to go to Twitter. When this button's clicked, we're going to go to YouTube. Simple, right? Awesome. Glad you're still with me. But now we still have this button right here. We're going to create a new page right quick, a new activity. Come on. Activity, empty activity. And we're going to call this one download. Yeah. No, just download. I'm weird, I know I am. So now we're going to basically come over here, and we're going to, we can either create a very long name or you just create it short. So we're just going to do DWNLDBTN. Just like that. Basically what we're doing is we're creating a reference to be able to handle a button. So now we're just going to do public void download button, and we're going to call our final context equals this. Let's go ahead and put that in there. So now we have button equals button. Let's call this one DWL BU button. So it's going to be a download button equals button, and we're going to find our view by ID. Our ID downloads. Is that what we named that? Oh, activity main. Yep, we named it downloads. So main activity. I was putting this all in the wrong Java file. How about that, guys? So let's come down here into this field. We're going to do DWNLD BTN. Alright, now we can do public void DWL and BTN. Final context. Yep. Equals, let's see, context equals this. And then we're going to do button. Let's see, DWLN BUTTN equals button. Find ID downloads. Alright, so now we're going to button set on-click listener, new view, on-click listener. We should do it this way. Now we're going to call an override action, and then we're going to throw a public void in this one, so it'll be on-click. Basically what this means is whenever somebody clicks on it, it'll be right there. We're going to throw in this specific action. For those of you that have not watched my previous videos, what we're doing right here is we're creating basically we're creating a button in the Java element, and we are going to create actions for this element in the back end. And basically what we're doing is we're just creating a button, creating the context, and what is this button going to do when we're done with it? What are we going to do with it? We don't have to worry about the visual aspect on this part because we went ahead and referenced that ID right here. So whenever we're doing the reference on the IDs on the back end, we're saying find this button. We don't care what it looks like on the back end. We know what it's going to do. The front end handles what is it going to look like. So essentially, when you're building an app, you're not just an app developer. You're also some sort of an artist to go along with it. Now, inside of the override button, we're going to do intent. We'll just call it intent for right now. Equals new intent. Context equals download dot class. And we're going to start this activity using the intent value. And naturally, we do have that that sound button. So we're going to do our media player as well. We're going to call it media MP media player create get application context or raw sound button mp.start. Alright, so now what we have done is we created a media player to create a sound. Whenever this button is clicked, it's going to play this sound right there. We are also going to, when the button is clicked at the same time, it is going to go to our download class. So now we sit in here, activity main, click on this button, and it will go to this page. Cool. And it will also play a sound, which you can download in the link below. Yes, I'm drinking coffee, not Java. I drink Folgers. So now what we're going to do is over here, we're going to go ahead and create this button. You know what? I'm going to take a quick little break, get me some more coffee, and I'll be right back. Alrighty guys, I am now back. So, where we left off is our activity download. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reference my background. I'm going to throw this in the drawable. I am thinking my Pip-Boy, actually, because I really did like that one. So I'm going to come down here to my Pip-Boy theme. And now every other page that we create, I might have it to where it's, the first one is Pip-Boy, then we have the background DNA, then we have the Pip-Boy, then we're going to do on our next page will probably be the background DNA. So now what we're going to do down here is naturally we're going to throw in our image. And one thing about having this image for a banner is you want to have your banner at the top of your Android apps, of all your pages. Depending on what the page content is, you can have it a little bit smaller. And like if you're having a shopping button for a specific category, have basically your banner a little bit smaller than what you normally have it, but have that category name a little bit bigger so people know, okay, well, I'm shopping on this category, or this is the about page, or this is a contact page, and stuff like that. That's all completely up to you. So I'm going to sit here and do our ID, which is going to be Android ID banner. I'm going to put this one directly in the center because that's just me. Android source equals drawable, and we're going to do a white ninja banner. And I'll put match parent instead of wrap parent. Wrap content. Alright, so there's that, which is actually good. So let's come back over here. Let's go here to match parent. Match parent. What I was talking about earlier in the video was if I said you match parent goes from top to bottom, left to right, if you did it this way. Now, if I was to put any content on this and line it below my banner, everything would appear down here and below, which is not really great because as of right now, we do not have a scroll view element. In other words, this page does not scroll whenever we get ready to, if we have to have more content below what this line right here is. So, in order to avoid having this huge picture that only for this little bitty letters right there, we're just going to go ahead and wrap this content. Now, what's really great about having match parent, like I was saying earlier, if you want to do like web view elements or background images or something like that, that would be when you'd want to utilize a match parent element instead of the wrap content. Now let's come over here to here. We're going to do a download. So what are we going to download? What are we going to reference? Let's see here. I'm just going to do this one button right quick. So let's come over here and we're going to do button. I'm going to do a custom button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 150 dp over 150 dp. This is going to be Android ID plus this is going to be pip boy. Yes, I will let you download this. I do not like the way that comes out, so let's see if we can't change this to 200. See if that comes out a little bit better. That looks a little bit better. Android background. We're going to reference our drawable, so we're going to do the background pip boy. Now, you see how it covers up 90% of my white? I don't like that, so we're going to go ahead and put this one in the... You know what? I'm going to do this a completely different way, guys. I'm going to show y'all how to use a table reference in case, for buttons and stuff like this. So we're just going to go ahead, wrap, Android ID equals at plus ID. Now this one's going to be image table. Android. We're going to put this one below our banner, and we're going to put this one in the center. Alright, now we go to table row, button, Android ID equals at plus ID, pip boy, Android height. What up in my height at? My height was 200, wasn't it? My Android layout width is going to be 150 decibels. And then my Android background is going to be inside my drawable folder, and it's going to be my background pip boy. So now there's that. I'm going to do a text view right quick, and I'm going to do an Android width. I'm going to do this one here at 20 dp, not D, whatever that was. And I'm going to do one more button. I'll let you download the DNA background. I don't really know what it's really called. I found it off the internet. I thought it was really cool, and it looked like a DNA, blue DNA. So I just call it blue DNA. So this one's going to be Android ID blue DNA. Android height 200. Android width equals 150. Android background equals drawable BCKG blue DNA. And there's that. So now we have this one for our pictures. Let's see here. Alright, So basically what we have here is we've drawn our pictures right here. And now what we need to do is be able to create some sort of back-end script so that it can be able to download to your device. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our download.java. And up here, we're going to come down a couple of spaces. And we're going to throw some references in here that we'll be using here in just a second. So we're going to start off with image view, and we're going to call this one image view. Enter. Put that one in there so it imports. Now we're going to do a button equals basically button. Yes, I am also looking over at my code. I do not want to mess this up because I'm sure you guys are following on exactly the way I am, and I know my other apps do work, so I'm just following basically my old scripts. That's all I'm doing. So I'm doing drawable, and we're just going to call this one drawable. Now you can reference these names to whatever you want to. So if you want the image view to be BCKG or DLWN, whatever you want to call it, you can call them whatever you want to call them. Just remember what you call them and what they are. We're going to do a bitmap equals bitmap. Import that one. I'm going to do a string equals image path. And finally, we're going to do a URI equals URI and import that one. Now that we have that one done, let's go ahead and come over here and create our button for Pip-Boy. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do button equals button. And this one, what we're going to do is we're going to find the view by ID, just like we did previously. So we're just going to do a find view by ID, RID. We have named this one Pip-Boy. Alright, so now we have that one. We're going to do an image view. And we're going to basically set that one to image view. And basically now what we're going to be able to do is find that image. So we're just going to do a find view by ID, RID, Pip-Boy. Alright, so now what we're going to do, that's almost exactly the same thing. Oh, I see. Okay, so what I did differently was this one right here is actually the images, not a button. So what I need to do is come back over here and change this to image view. And instead, we can leave the background like that. That'll be fine. And then we'll just change this one to image view. Now, what this is going to be Pip-Boy image. And then this one's going to be image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one table row to go directly underneath it. And this is going to be my buttons. If I can type right, Android ID equals ID is going to be Pip-Boy button. Android height wrap, oh crap, not match. I'm going to wrap content. Android layout width, wrap content. Android background. Now we're going to go ahead and reference that same background that we had created earlier. And we're going to do Android text. Now let's come back over here to our strings, and we'll come down here a couple of spots. Create this one. This is going to be our download screen strings. String name equals Pip-Boy. Pip-Boy. WLP. That way you know it's wallpaper. Or you know what? I'm not even going to put that down there. I'm just going to do Pip-Boy. And I'm going to do one more string. Name equals DNA. And I'm going to put this one blue DNA. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here. String text equals that string. And we're going to do Pip-Boy. Android text alignment equals center, even though it doesn't really do much of a difference. Android text size. I'm going to put this one here to, let's see what 15 looks like. Okay, too small. 25. There we go. I like that. And text color. We're going to do color text blue. What happens if we put green on green? Actually, that kind of matches. A little hard to read, but hey, it's all good. Now we're going to have to do a text view in order to match what we have up there before. That way nothing's out of sync. Create one more button, Android ID equals add plus ID equals blue DNA button. Height wrap, Android width wrap, Android background equals at drawable btn menu. We're going to set our text to DNA. Android text color equals txt blue. Makes sense. Blue DNA, right? Android text size equals 25 dp. Alright, set this down a little bit. There you go. Okay, that'll work. So, now the reason why I did it this way is so that way whenever we click on our image, it will pop up the image instead of downloading. When we click on the button, that's when you'll be able to download the button. And that's what I have set up over here. So this one I need Pip-Boy button. And this one we need to change to image. So now we have those two set. We're going to do our button, set our on-click listener. We're going to do a new view on-click listener. Oh wait. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to reference all of those images and drawables and bitmaps into this one. And this is where you will be seeing me looking over at my other screen actually quite frequently, so I don't mess too much more up on this app. So the first thing we want to do is reference our drawable. And we're going to be able to put get resources. Just close this off, and we're going to do get drawable. R drawable. And then we're going to reference this one to our Pip-Boy. So in this case, I have it actually set down as bckg underscore Pip-Boy. Just like that. Yep, we got that right. Bitmap is going to equal our bitmap reference and then drawable. Alright, so now we have that. We're going to go ahead and drawable that, make that a drawable file. Dot get bitmap. So now we've got that going for us. Now lastly, not really last, so we got image path, which is going to basically be our media store. Basically what this image path is going to be is when you download it, we're going to be able to set where this image will be downloaded to. So you can set this to basically be wherever you know, if you know the directive where it's going to be stored to, go ahead and store it there. And in this case, we're just going to do into our media source. So we're going to do get content resolver. Put that in there. Get content resolver bitmap. Now what we're going to be able to do inside this one is whenever we insert the image, once it's actually done downloading and it's inserted there, then we can actually name it. What are we going to name this? So in this case, we're going to do Pip-Boy. And lastly, what we're going to be able to do is call it that one more time. We're going ahead and reference Pip-Boy one more time. So let's do Pip-Boy. Alright, now that we have that, what we're going to be able to do is come back over here. Now we're going to do our URI. So now we've got URI.parse, and we're going to parse this one inside of our image path. So that way whenever it's actually done, basically this is basically saying, okay, we're going to download this button and we're going to put it in this image path. Still with me, right? Now we're going to do a toast. And what's really great about toast is basically what we're doing here is we are just creating a text. So if you come down here to make text, we're going to make our text, and we're going to reference this specific page. So we're going to do download dot this. So basically on this page, a pop-up text box is going to appear saying what we're going to eventually say it. And in this case, we're going to do Pip-Boy wallpaper downloaded successfully. Boom. And then we're going to toast the length. We're going to put this one as long. Now you can do a length short, which means they'll pop up for just like 1, maybe 2 seconds, and then it'll go away. Or you can do length long, which will stay up there between 3 to 5 seconds. Once we have that, then we're just going to basically say, show it. Now it's going to say, okay, once you click on the download button, and you click on the download, it'll download to our images media. It's going to put it into our media file. So when they click on the gallery, it's boom, right there. When they download it, this message will be popping up. Feel free to change that message to whatever you want it to be messaged as. And now lastly, what we're going to be able to do is put our media sound button in on here. So we're just going to create a media player. And we'll reference this as mp equals media player dot create get application context raw sound button mp dot start. So now we have everything that we need to do in order to set our images and view them as well. Now, in order to create this all over again, it's very simple. I'm just double checking, make sure I have everything correct. Yep, everything is correct. Except for some reason everything is all in red, but that is fine. I'm sure that it'll work itself out. Yeah, because everything is just completely correct. But I still feel like I am missing something, and I don't know what it is. Everything works. So now, we're going to do this one more time, but for our DNA button. I mean, after all, some of you might want the Pip-Boy image, some of you want the DNA. So let's go ahead and do a button equals button, find view by ID, R, ID. I would do this one here as BCK, we'll do this one here as, what was that, blue DNA button. And then we got image view, which we'll set to image view, find view by ID, R, ID, blue DNA image. Alright, so now we'll do our button dot set on click listener effect. We're going to do new view on click listener, draw. I swear I can type, guys. Now, all I'm doing right now is essentially I am just creating exactly what we have up there. The only thing different is I'm changing it from Pip-Boy to the blue DNA. Alright, and And then lastly, put our media player in there. Okay, so now we have the ability to click on this and we'll view the image. Click on this and it will download the image. And we have all that set up nice and perfect. Just double checking. Yep. Okay. Now, what we can do inside of here is be able to make it to where they click this button and they go back to the home page. Or we can create a specific button to take them back to the home page so they don't have to click on this. And in this case, let's go ahead and create that button right now. So we're going to come over here, we're going to come down here, we're going to create a button, wrap Android ID equals at plus ID back. Sounds good to me. Android center false. That's right. I'm just going to put this button will essentially be right down in here. And I want to put this one underneath our image table. So now we got Android background equals at Drawable. We're going to reference our button menu. Okay, so it is apparently coming up a little too far. This is not quite right. That's because my height is not wrap content. So now as you can see, it's right there. But that looks a little too close for me. So let's come down here and create text view just to give it a little bit of a space in between there. So we'll do 35 dp Android ID. And we'll put this one below our image table. And this one will be underneath our spacer 3. And see how it's got that little bit of space in between them. Now inside of here we're going to put our text. So we're just going to do a simple back. I'm not real worried about referencing that to a string right now. I'm going to put this one here at size at 20 dp. And then I'm going to do Android text color. I'll put this one at text blue. Just like that. So now what I need to do is make sure that this can go back to the main page. And in order to do that, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do BCK BTN. I'm going to come all the way down here. I'm going to do a public void BCK. Alright, so now we're going to do a final context. Context equals this. And we're going to create our button. Button equals button. Now we're going to reference that same ID. So we're going to do back button set on click listener new view on click listener. I'm going to override this statement public by creating a new on click listener. I'm going to view argument of 0. Intent, we're just going to go ahead and reference this as intent. New intent. Alright, so basically now we have that. So let's do context equals main activity dot class. And then we'll do start activity intent. And of course it wouldn't be complete if we don't have our media player in there. Alright, so now what should happen whenever we click on download button? We come over here to our downloads. You can see the images and then you can download them and then you can come back to main activity. What we've also done is created a table down here so we can see. You can directly go to my Facebook, you can go to my Twitter, you can go to my YouTube. Now, what we can do now is take a small little break because this is a long video. I'm going to upload this and I'll be back with the second section of this video.